Hey all, so we have another off-season war for you here with Masacre making a return appearance and also Captain America. So starting off with Masacre, I have actually had a bit of a soapbox for a while about how I like him as the single best Mr. Negative counter in the entire game. Now, Nick Fury is often easier to path, Killmonger is very good, there are a number of different skill champions with disorients, which do a great job of shutting down Mr. Negative. Masacre has one of the longest ones, though, at a base duration of 12 seconds and up to 36 seconds if the opponent is not incinerated. But he also just hoses Mr. Negative even on this node where the regen can actually get very problematic by just applying a ton of debuffs, not having to worry about knocking him down. Despair is doing a lot of the work at mitigating the healing for us, and just incredibly, incredibly easy fight. So then we move on to this Longshot. This is kind of an interesting placement. This is where, the node where Man-Thing was so much last season because Unstoppable Armor made it difficult to manage. I'm sure we're going to see a Mystic Defender here every time, pretty much, because it is a node that really shrinks the attack options. But one potential attack option here is, since none of the Defiance champions are natively shock immune, Captain America can handle the rest of the node, and because he both has access to an armor break, which can remove the armor causing the shock, and if you bring a skill on the team, he can purify that shock, as you just saw there, he kind of turns the whole thing off. See, like here we've removed the armor, and so the next hit wouldn't even try to apply the shock, so we don't even have to purify it. You do have to play around Masochism. Like, that is going to happen, but that's not really a problem. Notice that because he has the Defiance tag, we are not triggering the Mystic Dispersion Global, we are not triggering the Mystic Dispersion Mastery. We are healing up Longshot, so this is taking a little bit longer than we would like, but we're also keeping his Karma under control. We're even able to play around Strike Counter. I didn't intend to take that hit to the face. I don't know. Still feeling some things out. But it also didn't hurt that badly because Cap is pretty tanky. I mean, this is just super, super safe. There are a number of other options that you could send to this, but Longshot in particular makes some options like Doctor Doom a little bit dangerous for this node, and Cap can do that. Like, I think I probably would have ended that fight over 95% health, maybe even at 100 if I had played perfectly and not taken that combo. And given that the only synergy he really needed was the skill one, and so many skill champions are Defiance themselves this season, I don't think that's going to be very difficult to path, because it is a shared node. So I'm really excited with that testing. Cersei's basically only on the team to give Cap the armor break. So before we head into this Doctor Doom fight, this is a rank 4 Doom, as you can see, on node 26, which is one of his most popular placements. This is a hard fight for Apocalypse, or even a slightly tricky fight with Ghost. There are a few options. I've seen Void do this, but it's difficult. Because he hits really hard through block, the Disorient amplifies that, and most champions have to deal with Mystic Dispersion. Last season, when we saw this a couple times, we sent my friend Meta with his rank 4 Immortal Abomination, which basically completely trivialized the fight. He counters all the things you need to. But what I wanted to see was, if I'm trying to figure out how well I can path Masacre, can he also take this? Now, he's not going to turn off the aura, so we have to play around that, basically. We need to be careful and not just throw our heavies and specials indiscriminately. If he has that up, that could be bad. But because Masacre, unlike a lot of skill champions, does not need critical hits to ramp, he can ramp by hitting into block, we don't really have to worry about the way that Doom handles a lot of other skill champions, which is just, nope, you don't get to crit. Now, you will see him crit occasionally here, especially at the beginning of the fight, because my Masacre is duped, and that gives him extra critical rating when there's no debuff on the opponent. So for most of the fight, we have the debuff on the opponent, But that's okay, because that means that for most of the fight, we are doing an absolute ton of damage over time. Again, remember this is a rank 4 Doom, and we are chewing through him this quickly. Now we do have to bait out this special too, and I do go for the full dex there. You could block it, and he would survive, I'm quite sure. But I just went for it because it's off-season and we have to test that. He is not as tanky as an Apocalypse, which would be the usual, that's fine, I'll just block it option, or as a Mortal Abomination. He doesn't have class advantage against Doom. But if you're confident on the evade, and inputs are supposed to be getting better by next season, right? Then that was actually pretty darn clean for a rank 3 punching up against a rank 4 Doom on one of the most dangerous nodes on the map. I don't know that I'm going to prioritize that assignment. Like I said, I still think that iBomb is better. But that does feel like an option. So then we're going to take on this Mojo. Could have taken this with Cap as well. I'm using Masacre just because I don't plan on using him on the next couple nodes. But then I noticed that the defender's running recoil. There's really not a lot here. It basically just proves that almost anyone is a Mojo counter, the same way that almost anyone is a Spite counter if they have a Defiance tag. So, not that I think SGA would actually place this in season per se, but doubling up that weakness, just saying, okay, cool, send somebody who's Defiance and it will counter both this node and this defender completely, definitely makes that part easier. So obviously I got hit by that special one there. I thought I was dexing. I must have dexed in the wrong spot and left a window open. But notice that we went back into ignition by throwing a heavy while there was still an incinerate on the defender. I will have my Masacre guide dropping sometime this coming week or weekend, and he just melts it. Like, yes, Liquid Courage does come into play. You see it took about 30% of Mojo's health off there, but the rest was all Masacre, and it was very, very easy to keep that under control. So moving on to this Guillotine 2099 on Aspect of Evolution, this is definitely kind of obnoxious. I don't know why I thought that first parry landed, so that's on me. You don't need to eat that hit at the start of the fight. And you can see already she's doing a fair amount of damage through the block there. But one cool thing is that the Spectre debuff she tries to apply to you to make things harder gets purified because we have a skill champion on the team. And because my Captain America is Sig 200, then that's just super reliable. Now, she is gaining extra power from Aspect of Evolution because we are reducing blocks down to 0 damage, and that does increase how much power she gets. However, Aspect of Evolution is actually helping us in some ways there, because as she gains block penetration, we actually have to roll a perfect block for her to get that doubled power. If she just gets through our parries, which would normally do 0 damage, but which block penetration stats get through, our normal parries do not trigger double power because they do not reduce the block damage all the way to 0. So this is not the most fun fight in the world. The block damage does add up. That's the flip side of what we just talked about. But Cap can do an awful lot of damage just with heavies. She does gain a fair amount of power, but he doesn't need to crit, not when he's stacking all those armor breaks. Nice and easy. So if I were taking this fight, this Mephisto on Kinetic Transference and Rich Get Richer in season, honestly, I probably just wouldn't take this fight. I would try and send somebody else who was actually Incinerate immune. I mean, this is really punching uphill. We can't win Rich Get Richer. We don't have a tech on the team because we focused on skill and cosmic. So we're not reducing his power gains either from the Aura of Incineration or from Rich Get Richer. We don't have any way to remove his buffs to get around Rich Get Richer that way. We don't have any buffs of our own because of Defiance. So we're basically just sitting here baiting special ones and killing him slowly. Now, Defiance does give us extra energy resistance. And so between that and the energy resistance Cap has naturally, as long as he has a single kinetic charge, we are really blunting the aura damage whenever it's up and he's close to us. But this is just a long, slow fight It's basically leaning on the fact that Cap has the Defiance tactic and doesn't trigger Mystic Dispersion. That's basically all we're proving here. And if the AI got particularly nasty and saved up to a special 3, this could go wrong. So you could take this with an invulnerability boost and just assume that given Cap doesn't have to land full combos, he's mostly parry heavying, you could get it down and eat fewer than 3 special 3s, and you'd almost certainly be right given the way that this fight goes, but ideally you would send a harder counter. This is more just a, they're going to die before I do, and it's fine because I'll heal it up type of fight. So he triggered double aura there. I couldn't finish it off, but I can just wait this out. And we probably only need one more heavy. I have to go for the reparry there. Heavy doesn't crit. That's okay. Simple enough, the fight goes down. We could heal up Cap. That's something that we could take if we absolutely needed to. So this last fight is going to be easier than all of the others. It's basically just proving that there are not a whole lot of characters you can place on the Safeguard mini that Masacre will not tear through this season. Even if they happen to be Incinerate immune, as long as it's truly immune and not like a Red Hulk, he's going to do his extra damage punishing that. Safeguard's just not going to matter. Because he also has a lot of hits on his special 1, that's more opportunities to do the maximum damage if that comes up. You're doing tons of despair. You notice that Indomitable keeps popping up there, telling us we cannot reverse any regen from willpower, but we just do not need to. Like, look at all this damage. If he had been more aggressive and thrown that special 2, then we probably could have gotten to a special 1 and refreshed all 12 of those incinerates. Instead, we had to wait, throw our heavy to go back into ignition, take a little bit more block damage than maybe we needed to, but yeah, there's just not a whole lot here besides, wow, Masacre does a lot of damage over time. So I started this last war basically just trying to have fun because I've always enjoyed Masacre, and I kind of figured I would be mostly using Hawkeye or Killmonger this season. I no longer feel strongly about that. After these 2 wars, I actually feel like I'm going to be able to path him, and feel like it is one of the best, if not the best options for some fights. I'm not going to force it in, but this was really interesting to me, and I do expect to use him at least once this coming season. He's just a very good, well-rounded character, and the Defiance tag makes him super relevant. So I love that Kabam is doing that. Love that we have the Defiance tag for both seasons of Mystic Dispersion. I think that's going to make it a lot less painful, and I'm looking forward to it. But I am also looking forward to another full week of break, so don't take that as me wishing the war season would come sooner. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed this. Like I said, I started work on my guide to Masacre, so that'll drop sometime this week, probably after the Eternity of Pain fight tomorrow, but be on the lookout for that. And until then, thanks so much for watching, and take care.